And action!
Disgust me. Grow up.
Hello everybody, welcome to the very first episode of What's the Script? What's the script, mate? But it's it's not a Glaswegian fucking accosting you at one fucking Hall Street. It's a movie review podcast by me and my good pal Chris. This is Chris. How are you, Chris?
No bad.
Not bad. Looking forward to it.
Aye, it should be eventful. Funny.
It'll be funny if anything else, because knowing us two, we throw in a couple of accents, couple of impressions, and then we might even go off onto a tangent. So even though we're discussing a period drama, as I'm calling it now, because it is set about 60, 70 years ago, it could still morph into the MCU or something like that, you know what I mean?
I don't know anything about
that. No, do you hell, because your background doesn't give that away. Fucking Funko Pop City there.
It doesn't stop, mate. It doesn't stop.
Never stops. So before we go forward, just to let you know, this is just a bit of fun between me and my mate. If you do want to give some comments and feedback in the various socials that we're on, brilliant, man. If you've got any films you'd want us to look at, or, do you know what I mean, that we might not think of, obviously get in touch as well. And at the very least, all we can tell you is get to fuck no watching that shit. You know what I mean? Like, if you know a woman's going to come in and going to watch Fried Green Tomatoes and let us know.
I was going to say 16 Candles. But...
Well, there you go. But I mean, what is it? Aye, what's the most kind of chicky flicky that you would consider? What do you like? What's your guilty pleasure, chick flick wise?
I don't know. Well, there's like, I've never seen Dirty Dancing. There you go.
What?
Never seen it. Never seen Baby Foot in the Corner, but I see it whenever.
Christ, I've built you up to be some sort of movie buff, I know. You've never seen Dirty Dancing?
Aye, but I've abstained for that.
Aye, that means you don't watch Channel 5 every 3 weeks now, because it's fucking never after. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we'll get right into it. So Stand By Me, obviously it was a 1987 film directed by Robert Reiner. And obviously the simple synopsis is it follows the journey of four boys who go outside the small town America to go and find the body of a young boy who's went missing. And you'll get to that at the end of it. So it was shot, as I said, 1986. It didn't come out in 1987. I don't want to get too technical and bog you down with stuff like that, but at a time when the cast, you look at now, right? Do you know what I mean? You've got River Phoenix, Will Wheaton, Jerry O'Connell, and Corey Feldman. You look at them and go, woof. And who's the other one? Kiefer Sutherland, fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But at the time, obviously, they were unknown. Do you know what I mean?
Aye, that's what I mean. I think, see, Kiefer Sutherland, he must have had some spate of films. I think he was in that. Then he was in Lost Boys, and then Young Guns. You know what I mean? Right after that, freedom, man.
Aye, so he get fucking launched into the Hollywood. But we talked about this off camera, and I thought, listen to us. Hello, darling. We talked about this. And we both thought of the same thing at different times, didn't we?
It was freaky, man. That's how you know there's something supernatural in the air, mate. No way. I mean, that nobody else talks about that. I don't think anybody's heard it. I might hear about it now, but it's the first I'd ever heard it.
Well, I thought I was like the first person to ever think about it, and then you text me. So tell the people what we're talking about.
Looking at Kiefer Sutherland's character in Stand By Me, blonde-haired guy, bad guy, gang leader, so and so, and then we were thinking, is he the same person and The Lost Boys, like the same character, but just decades later, but because he's just the same character, same person, acts the same way, except he's a vampire. It might not be, but I just thought it was cool, man.
Do you know what? I didn't actually go and look up. Is his name not Johnny in Lost Boys or not? I can't remember. I never looked it up.
David's his name in that.
Right. Okay. But I mean, obviously,
that's what I mean. Be Stand By Me. Who calls the Wayne Ace? Is that just a nickname?
I know. I know because his name's John Ace Merrill. But Ace is obviously the nickname. Because I don't think his father was called Eyeball at the christening either, do you know what I mean?
Well, I know somebody called Eyeball.
Aye, but did they get the water put in his heat for the fish? We christen you Eyeball LeChance.
Oh, Eyeball Paul, man. What a boy.
Eyeball Paul, Christ, fuck. So, there we go, folks. So, now you're thinking about it, and it's got a movie history like us that knows their films is fucking, Ace and David out of fucking Lost Boys. And in the terms of, do you know what I mean, the movie universe, there's only 25 years between the two films. Do you know what I mean? So, went to escaped small town Castle Rock, went to LA to try and become an actor and get fucking bitten in the neck.
Well, it's just started off. It could be. It could be him, and he's just changed his name from Ace to David. I mean, because
his acting name.
Exactly. Know what I mean?
So there you go. We've just wrote a script. And
there's a film. There's a film.
Aye.
So, he thought about Kiefer Sutherland enough. Do you know he doesn't watch anything he's ever done? He's not watched any of his films. He's not watched any of his films. He's never seen an episode of 24, anything. He says when he sees his cell phone, he sees his cell phone camera, and he just sees himself and it puts him off.
Well, did he watch Phone Booth? But because you don't see his face in that.
True.
Great film as well, but I digress. We'll get right into it, folks. Stand by me. It opens up just Land Rover sitting at the side of the road in a field. It pans into Richard Dreyfuss, who's the grown-up version of Gordy LeChance. And he's just obviously sitting in shock, isn't he, Chris, because he's just read the paper.
That's it. My best mate died after come say this Wheaton. Everybody thought he was going to be a kind of scumbag like his family and all that, but you know, what does he say? He's no. Did you see at the end that he's not seen him for like 10 years or something? But it still hits him hard because it's like his best mate sort of thing.
Exactly. So I mean, we'll go over the relationship between the boys as we go along the film, but that's how it starts. It's just Richard Dreyfuss with his wispy little bit of candy floss ginger hair, sitting like that. Just read the terrible news that his best pal for childhood has been killed.
It's a far cry for his hair and jaws, isn't it?
He's not a good looking guy at all, is he? No. I'm not a fan of Richard Dreyfuss, to be honest with you. I think he's very... Where do you go?
No, that's what I was saying to you last night. I know. He wasn't even originally supposed to play that part. There's another actor in place it. And
that's right.
He wasn't good at doing the narration. So even Bob Reiner himself, he tried doing it, and it was just Dreyfuss.
Aye. Because Rob Reiner was mainly an actor in Vintage, and looking at his back catalogue, he's been in some cracking films. And if you can't picture his face, you must know Max Belfort for fucking Wolf of Wall Street, who's Jordan's dad, the big angry Jewish guy that doesn't mind a bit of bush.
Aye. No bush.
Aye. What? You like the bush? I don't mind it so much. So that's Rob Reiner, a big bustling guy, but this kind of got him. He'd done a couple of directorials. This kind of got him a wee bit on the stratosphere into mainstream directing, and he did do a couple of good films after that as well, and had a part to play in a few things, mainly I would say 80s, 90s in it, but A Few Good Men. He directed that. And that got awards and stuff like that as well. And the only other one I know that I could see would be before that, it was The Prince's Bride. So,
well, he done this as Spinal Tap and all, and then later on he done The Bucket List.
Okay, right there. I've seen that, The Bucket List. That's not bad fun. It's not bad. Payday for Michael Caine and fucking Morgan Freeman after they'd done Batman. You know what I mean? Must be down to the last 20 million each or something. So anyway, we digress again. See, we go off in tangents. So Gordy's grown up. He's read the news. His best pal for childhood has been killed in a brawl at a show. I think it was at a restaurant. And it instantly takes him back to the summer of 1959. So what we do is it just goes right back into it. You see the young Gordy just walking through Castle Rock. And right after the bat, you know what I mean, you're taken there, aren't you? The cinematography in the film, who we credit to the Thomas Dilruth. It's brilliant. It's small town America. It's Cadillacs, it's Buicks, it's the rockabilly playing on the radio, and it's everybody waving. They all know one another, and it's the height of summer. And I just thought it was really good, man, because it takes you just for that 80s Land Rover boom back into small town America.
Aye, because everybody likes a bit of nostalgia and that, don't they? It's like, see, whenever you see it, people go, I wish I was about at that time, you know what I mean? Because it all just looks chilled and authentic sort of thing.
Aye, definitely, man. But everybody that grows up in Wheatons just went fucking out, didn't they?
Aye. Well, that's where you kind of see that through the film, that like we see it like a brilliant wee place to live, see like the sense of adventure and all that stuff. But then as you go through the film, everybody knows your business. And if you've got a rogue in the family or whatever, you're tarred with the same brush.
Definitely. So Gordy, the young Gordy's walking across the street and he just makes his way to the tree house. So they've got a wee gang hut, the four boys, and he gets up there with a secret knot, and that's where you're first introduced to Chris and Teddy. So Chris obviously is played by the late great Robert Phoenix, and Teddy by Corey Feldman. And they're playing cards of some sort. I'm not a gambler, and they're smoking the fags and stuff. Do you know what I mean? So right after the bat, you can see that they're kind of a wee wild bunch. They've got a wee gang hut, and it's all good camaraderie in it.
Aye. Well, that's what I thought about enough before this. How, see, it's a good thing that this was wrote back then. Because, I mean, this film wouldn't happen though. I mean, who sees...
In which sense?
Like, well, there wouldn't be a treehouse for a start. And that wee group, they wouldn't have met up. They'd be all talking on WhatsApp or whatever it is, you know what I mean? So you wouldn't have a film for a start.
I get you. I thought you meant they couldn't make that time period in today's market or something. I got it wrong, but no, you're right. Because they wouldn't go and meet, wouldn't they? No, they'd just all sit in a group chat or fucking Zoom or something like that.
Exactly. Aye.
So it's when you're meeting them that Dreyfuss is narrating, and he's giving you a wee bit of backstory about Chris being the leader of the gang, and about getting the blame for the milk money, and about how his brother's a douchebag, and obviously he's been tarred with the same brush. And then Teddy as well, he's obviously, what's the script with him? He's got his ears fucking held to a stove and bumped half his father.
Well, that's what I was thinking, that, because the film goes on as well. Teddy always sees like his dad, like a war hero sort of thing. He's storming the beaches at Normandy and all that. And I'm thinking, when this is set, stuff like PTSD and all that, isn't it? Like, nobody knows about it. So you've got a guy that's obviously PTSD, takes out in his voice sort of thing, you know what I mean? And then that kind of abuse, that's why I sent him off his nut, because that's what he says. He's the crazy guy out the gang sort of thing. And you're like, aye, because he's got a mental issue now. You know what I mean? Getting your ear bummed off your father that obviously he still idolises as well. You know what I mean?
Aye. No, that's a good point, man. I never even thought of that, but you're right. Because 1959, you're talking just about 15 years, well, little under 15 years after the Second World War, aren't you? So all these soldiers went home, back to normality, and had no outlet to discuss or vent for what they've seen, what they've felt. Do you know what I mean? So that's a great point, mate, actually. So it is. So, and it also tells you as well that well, Chris explains, doesn't he, that it says his dad's been battering him because he's been drinking a lot. And it's just, back then, it just seems to be the accepted thing. So you've met 3 of the boys, and the 2 that you've met there, you've got a bit of a backstory. We're still to get to Gordy, and then obviously, hey guys, let me in. Let me in, guys. Seriously, sincerely.
You're good at that.
It's because I'm fat. So that's the 4th member of the quartet, and that's wee Vern. And they just kind of haze him and tease him, and they poke at him. He's the chubby one in the gang. But he's brilliant, man. He's absolutely funny.
It just shows you fat shaming was back then and all.
That's that. So he's sat him at the door. They don't let him in. Eventually gets in and stuff like that. But he misses the jokes that Chris tells everybody about how do you know a Frenchman been in your backyard. And Teddy's, I'm half French, man. I'm half French. Don't say it. What is it? Your garbage cans are empty and your dog's pregnant.
No. The French are fair game. just like us.
Exactly. So wee Vern comes in eventually, they let him in and stuff, and he's buzzing to tell them his stories. Guys, I got something to tell you. Sincerely. So he says it, doesn't he? And they're just taking a piss, and they're not really wanting to listen. And he goes, I ran all the way here. I ran all the way home to a show. But eventually he gets to tell his story on. You go, you tell him what wee Vern's got to tell us.
Yeah. Well, obviously he's done looking for his pennies, his jar of pennies that he's lost. Well, he had a treasure mark for it, obviously, but he's more chucked that out as most day. Never don't like clutter, the woman. And he hears, I'm sure it's his older brother, isn't it? And his pal talking about how they boosted a motor. And they found the dead boy, Mr. Bauer. And they talk about how they're talking about should they report it sort of thing, but reporting it where they were, it would lead to maybe them getting the jail or whatever because they've obviously stole a motor. So he's eavesdropping, obviously under the house, looking for his pennies, and tells his wee crew. That's how it all kicks off. That's good up of age.
So, exactly. So obviously that's a story that's been doing the rounds about town, and as I say, it's small town America, and everybody knows everything at the same time. So the backstory is that a young boy from town has went walking along the railway lines to pick some berries, and he's not come back. He's not been found either. The general consensus is he's been hit by a train somewhere, but where, they do not know. So immediately the boys, they all agree, they all hatch the plan to say, do you want to go and look for this dead body? We'll get in the paper, we'll be on the news, and they're dead excited, aren't they?
Aye. As like you say, it's like, as wee boys would be, they can get themselves in the paper and get famous and all that stuff. You know what I mean? But
exactly.
As it goes on, you kind of see the maturing through the film and all, which is good to see.
And immediately after that, once they've agreed that they're all going to kid on, they're staying at each other's houses and go to the drag race and stuff like that, so their mums and dads won't ask any questions. It's then that Gordy reveals that his mum and dad wouldn't give a fuck anyway, because no long before that, he's just lost his big brother Denny in a car accident. So goes back into that, and that's when you hear about Gordy's struggle and trauma at home, because his mum and dad are just they're walking dead, aren't they?
That's it. They're just doesn't exist really in their eyes, because his older brother was the blue-eyed boy sort of thing. All their hopes and dreams pinned on him. So that I think it's like anything. That's not really the case, I don't think, but it's portrayed that way by his view in the film.
Definitely, because I was thinking as well, obviously for people who have not seen the film, I hope you won't watch it after it. Denny is the golden boy. He's the high school prom best looking guy with the best looking lass. He's the quarterback for the winning football team. Everybody in the town knows him and stuff like that. And then there's a bit of an age gap between him and young Gordy. And Gordy's obviously got his own what do you call it, talents and stuff, but not in a more in an academic way, not in a kind of sport and good looks and motors kind of ways. But there's a bit of an age gap. And obviously, the mum and the father, especially, his focuses are all on my boy Denny, the football player and stuff. And as I was saying to you, I was laughing because I just realised when I watched it back that his dad was the mutant that had Quato in his belly at a Total Recall in 1990. And then I realised, I know the mum, she's the mammy out of the Goonies.
Aye.
No, Gremlins.
Oh, Gremlins. Aye, Gremlins.
And she might have Gremlins.
That's another one. I choose on that with Corey Feldman again. Another.
So he was.
See?
So he was.
Illuminati revealed, lads.
Aye. Jesus, so he was, because he obviously was Billy's pal, wasn't he, the young neighbour?
Yep.
And wanted to go and see the professor with a gremlin. It's another film. Again, we're going off and I digress. So the death story's there. So you found out that Teddy, Chris, and Gordy they've got their problems. But being a 12-year-old boy in 1959, nobody gives a fucking shit anyway about it. So there you go. So you find out as well that Gordy goes to look for his brother's baseball cap into the room, and his dad appears. His dad gives him a hard time about the boys he's hanging around with. No, why can't you have friends like your big brother? And it's just then you see that you're just, his parents don't care. They just, do you know what I mean? They can't get over the death of the golden child. So then, oh, sorry, on go.
No, that's what I was saying to you, Ross. Let's see all these characters, they've all got this like abusive dad, or they don't care, or whatever. Do you think that was Stephen King's experience when he was younger? That his dad didn't care, or his dad was abusive, or whatever, and he's just put it into each character?
Definitely. I mean, there was an interview no long ago. I think it was the 30th anniversary. I've read, and I'm just paraphrasing here, and they asked Stephen King about it, and he said he was Gordy. He was that young, awkward boy that had a talent for writing, and it was just trying to get it out there because it wasn't seen as an avenue to a career. You know what I mean? It was go out and get a job, go out and be a football player, go out and do something with your hands. You know what I mean? So he did admit to it. He says that looking back 30 years, you know what I mean? I was Gordy, misunderstood young guy with a talent that wasn't nurtured, but obviously he got there in the end, the big freaky bastard.
I've seen some things, that boy.
Aye, he's got some imagination there, Stephen King, as you probably all know, and he nearly died, I know, didn't he, Stephen King? That mad weird accident or something.
Aye. I can't remember what that was.
No, I come back to it, man, but it was something weird, something he would have probably wrote, and he came through it, but he's not the best looking chap, but sure his bank manager doesn't get a monkey's fuck about that.
Well, that's apparently, I know. Know how he wrote Carrie? Apparently, you only get like £1,000 for selling the rights to whatever company it was that made the Carrie film.
Really?
You only get like £1,000 or something.
Wow. Because the novel that this film was based on, The Body, he wrote like 4 years before it. He got £100,000 for that, which in today's terms is absolute peanuts. But his agent at the time was clever enough to put a 10% clause in it, so anything that came from the movie he would get as well. And as we know, there's a budget of about 7.5 to 8 million for the film, and it grossed 56. So 35 years ago, that's kind of good, isn't it?
Ching ching.
Ching ching, because as I said, these boys weren't the mainstream actors, so I can only imagine they wouldn't be getting. They'd be getting more than the average fucking working Joe, but they wouldn't be getting, in today's terms, what I sold that would demand. So he meets up with Chris. They're just about going on an adventure. They've got their backpacks, they've got their sleeping bags tied in string and all that kind of stuff. It's just, they've not got anything, but they've got everything run about them. Do you know what I mean? And that's when Chris sees, "Won't you want to see something?" And it takes round the back of the shop.
Oh, yeah, that's another thing as well. I was watching Bob Reiner talking about the film as well. And you know when River Phoenix jumps off the truck that he gets strapped off in? where he says thanks to the guy that's driving says sure thing, and that was a nod to Reiner's other film, The Sure Thing, with John Cusack in it. That's what it says. Yeah, it says all his films, he'll have a wee nod to his other films in the film.
Aye, so this is like before what we know now as Easter eggs in it.
Aye, exactly.
I remember when Easter eggs was becoming a thing, and I didn't understand it.
Aye,
and I was looking for actual fucking eggs. Look out for the Easter eggs in this film. And I'm looking for fucking eggs on it.
Not a Cadbury's to be seen.
Aye. Sure Thing. Again, John Cusack plays the dead brother Denny. So there you go. Another thing that's on to link. So he's met Chris. Chris jumps off a truck or that, takes him around the back of the diner, and he produces his dad's handgun, doesn't he, out his sleeping bag.
Aye, for a laugh and all that. You never really think of that, you know. You've got a group of Waynes running about with a loaded gun through this whole film. Like that. Only in America.
Exactly. And it's his dad's 45, but he says his dad won't even miss it because he's been drinking so much. He'll just think he's been shooting beer cans and made an arse of it. And that's when Gordy is just looking through the gun. He's pointing at the bins and stuff, isn't he?
Aye, he tells him it isn't loaded, and obviously has a wee pop. Boom.
Gun goes off.
Aye, that moment. Who's letting off cherry bomb? You know what I mean? Like,
what? Fucking loudest cherry bomb ever, man. Jesus Christ.
That actress I know, she was actually Rob Reiner's assistant in the film, and she was an aspiring actress, so he gave her that wee bit part.
Jesus, aye. So it's just when Gordy shoots the gun, it's just, Jesus! His face, man.
Oh, brilliant, man.
So the pinky swear, I said, I didn't know it was loaded, a pinky swear and all that kind of stuff. And then that's when they're walking down the street after that, and Ace and Eyeball are walking by, and Ace takes Gordy's hat off, just given to him by his dead brother off him. So that's your first introduction into the arsehole that is Kiefer Sutherland.
Oh, that's what he says at all when they were filming that, for Sutherland to stay in character. He used to bully him off on set, sort of thing, and it was to help the younger actors as well be scared of him. So see, when it came to scenes and all that, when they looked petrified of him, that was because he was bullying them on set. You're like that. Aye, that's a thing, was it? Aye.
He hurt me. No, he didn't. He was just staying in character.
Aye.
Just to behave.
Aye.
So
where's HR?
I know. Where's HR back then? There wasn't any HR, which will allude to an awe. What happens to Jerry O'Connell during the filming. But Chris stands up to him for taking the hat, but it only ends up in Chris getting decked by Ace, and Ace has got a cigarette to his eye, take it back. So they take it back, they go in their separate ways, and obviously Deed Brothers hats away, which is a big thing for young Gordy. So they meet up with the other boys.
See, that's hanging up. See with the hat as well. Kiefer Sutherland was asking Rob Reiner about it. He's like, I put it on my head, like, this is now mine, sort of thing. And Rob Reiner says, nah, you threw that hat away as soon as you went round the corner. It means absolutely nothing to you and everything to him, sort of thing. I was like, that's just pretty people, that.
Aye. So it was only used to, because I remember thinking about towards the end, we get to the end, that eventually gets the hat back, but it never happens, doesn't it? One thing.
That's why you never see it, because he just, as soon as he took it, went off. Get that too.
That's why the film was called The Hat.
Stand by your hat, Stan.
Aye. So the boys have all met up. They've met Teddy and they've met Vern, and they're just about to leave town and get that kind of iconic looking bridge. Because the film itself, let me just see my notes down here. The film was shot in Oregon, wasn't it? And that's where the bridge is today.
Aye, because I've got a Stand By Me day thing now, isn't it? The wee town they filmed it in. They have a big day for it now. Every year.
Aye, every Stand By Me day every year since 2007, and they said they get hunters, visitors and stuff like that. It's something I'd like to go, but I'm a geeky bastard. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. That's why people go to New York and all that. You see various bits. I mean, Times Square's just bright shiny lights, but people want to go to it. It's in nearly every film, isn't it?
Definitely, mate. I think the closest I've been to a movie set, well, telly set, is when me and my mate Tim, we went to Spain. We went a day trip through to Girona, and we were on the stairs for Game of Thrones. Now, shame.
Did you reenact it?
Aye, of course I did. I had my kept my clothes on. I've got photos somewhere. Tim taking me on his stairs going like that. Shame. Which was quite good. I knew I'd recognised him at the time, but I had to Google it after it. I was like, fucking is it? This stairs out of Game of Thrones. So, anyway, we digress once again. So they're at the bridge. They decide it's about 20-30 miles to get to the old Harlow Road via the big river. What's the river called again? I can't remember. Or the lake?
Cannot remember, mate.
Little companies. So they're not going to care about the road. They're going to have an adventure. They're going to look for this dead body. They're singing away. They're singing the Paladin song, which is obviously something that's on the cinema back in the day. And that's when they realise who brought the food.
Right.
And they've been that excited that not one of them has brought a scrap of fucking things to eat. But what's Vern brought?
He's brought the comb.
I got a comb. Mad Teddy.
Well, I mean, what was the thing with the comb? What was it, so they could order their hair for when they're in the paper or something?
Aye, probably, that's what I was thinking. But then Teddy tells him right after that, what the hell do you bring a comb for? You've not got any hair. He's got a buzz cut. I was thinking of you guys. Sincerely.
Oh, what?
So they've named. Sorry.
That's the thing I know. This thing this number pops up quite a lot in Stephen King stuff. The how when they add all the money up, it's like $2.37. So right. 237. That's the number of the room in The Shining, and it's Red's cell number in Shawshank Redemption.
Oh, you've been doing your homework, son.
Exactly, mate. I was harassed. Clocked that. It's not bad.
Fucking, is there a Stephen Kingopedia or something like
that? No. I was just thinking 237 with the, and then I seen there was a documentary called 237 about the Shining film.
Right.
So I was like, so is this just a thing he does? Because it's like, well, see if you watch The Sopranos, they always talk about 3 o'clock, and you never really know what it is. So I was like, is this just a number they put through it? And sure enough, it's in Free's film.
Happens quite a lot, doesn't it? Directors and actors and stuff like that, they put, as we say again, Easter eggs all the way through their films. 237. Because turns out that Gordy's got $1.02 and the other two have got 60 and 68 cents. Mad Vern that brought the comb, he gets 7 cents. As you say, get the money together, and then they'll decide they're going to go to the next shop, which we'll get to. But then they're standing in the train tracks at the time, aren't they? And just say, train's coming. So the three boys walk off.
Teddy's sitting there. That's what makes me think he's get like some sort of trauma in his head or something. See with that train coming. Like suicidal tendencies, but I don't know if it goes that far, sort of thing. But that's how I was like kind of thinking to myself. Is that messed him up? I know. And then as you see later, how Teddy reacts after somebody talks about his dad.
Aye, because if you're not seeing the film, what happens is Teddy stays on the railway tracks for the train coming. He's wanting to dodge the train. And the other boys are like, come on, stop fucking about. But as the train gets closer and closer, like, come on. And Chris obviously jumps up there as leader of the gang, wrestles with Teddy, manages to get him off just before the train comes. The two of them fall out at it, don't they?
That's it. So, like, again, just makes you think that he's got a screw loose after, obviously, about his dad, don't you, sort of thing. So I don't know if it's like, because like they see later on in the film how he still idolizes him like a war hero sort of thing. So I don't know if it's like gave him some sort of complex that his idol has done this thing to him, or he still sees him as a war hero, as like a coping kind of mechanism for it, other than seeing him as an abuser.
Aye, definitely. And his coping mechanism, as you say, he's just trying to probably prove to himself that he's got some of his dad's stuff in him, you know what I mean? He's no fear and can dodge trains, and he's going to be a soldier one day just like his dad. Do you know what I mean? Totally doesn't mention that he's melted the boy's ear off and probably beats him every time he gets drink in him. And but aye, it's something that just would be obviously picked up on like that today, kind of thing. So the boys have made up the stuff like that, and then we see Ace and the gang in the car playing fucking mailbox baseball. And it's then I thought it was then that Billy eventually tells Ace about the dead body. But again, the chicken's just it.
Aye. I think it kind of highlights and all that Ace is like the only real baddie sort of thing. See, in that gang, I think the rest of them are just like making up numbers, but he is the actual proper thug criminal about it, know what I mean?
Aye.
Because they've already kind of got this thing, should they report it, blah, 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 blah. And if they don't really want to be doing it, he's encouraging them to do it, all the thing, sort of stuff.
Right. I think Eyeball, now Chrissy's big brother, I think he's the closest to Ace, because he looks like a fucking pest, and obviously you allude to the fact that Chris is tired with his brother's brush anyway, so his brother must be an asshole as well, just as bad, although Ace is undoubtedly the fucking leader. So whereas they're playing, this is what's fucking getting to me, right? What they're doing, guys, is they're in a car, they've got a baseball bat, they're driving along, and they're hitting mailboxes, right? Called, like fucking, I can't remember what to call it, mailbox baseball. And every time they hit a metal one, it's a strike. If they hit a wooden one, they're out, and somebody else gets a turn. See, in small town America, where they all grew up and you know everybody, how many fucking mailboxes do you know about? Do you know what I mean?
Aye, that's true. Unless they drove to another Wheaton.
Aye, I know. I'm just looking for it's the first time you've done. If it's not the first time you've done this, then obviously you're having to go further and further and further out of town to find fucking mailboxes to date to. Do you know what I mean? That's the only thing that was fucking kind of muddled to me. But that was it's just a kind of a wee interjection just to give a wee nod to the fact that Ace and the gang are still about in the background, they're getting on with fucking their daily pish, and they'll be in it later on. So by this time, the boys get to the junkyard, don't they?
Aye, sick balls. See, the kind of, when they're in that junkyard and all, and obviously they start having, you see again that they're still young Waynes and all that, but what it also showed to me and all, see when they'll start flagging each other, see boys and their humour, it has not changed one bit.
No, you're right.
Right away, somebody's maw's getting pelters. So I mean, just that still happens, you know. Your maw. How many maw jokes do you know? Know what I mean?
It's the same as you just said. It's the same with day. Even adults, we're still fucking. We talk about women and we rib other women. Do you know what I mean? That are close to the person, they're annoying. But Dreyfuss is doing quite a bit of narrating at this point when they get to the junkyard, because he's giving you the backstory about how there's this legend has it about Milo and Chopper. Now, Milo owns the junkyard and Chopper's his dog. And the legend is that if you're caught in Milo's junkyard, then you'll hear the cry, Chopper, sick balls. And the boys think that this dog's been... Nobody's seen the dog. That's what Dreyfuss says. Nobody has seen this dog. So they think the dog's trained to attack the male genitalia. I mean, rip your balls off if you're caught in here. Which is quite a good security backstory to have if you want to hung a junkyard after.
But that's what I was thinking of. How does he train the dog to do that? How do you try that the first time? Where do you get volunteers?
Very true. But you know that story's just started by one boy at school, and he's been caught in there, and I made it out there in my life, man. I heard him shouting, Chopper, sick boys. His dog's trained and all that. And then obviously the dog's still been seen, but obviously everybody in the school thinks that this dog's going to be a fucking bear. You know what I mean?
Again, it's like you can pull comparisons again, because like, see, when we were younger, there's a wee lane just up the hill from me, right? We used to call it the Witch's Lane. And we used to call it the Witch's Lane because when you go so far along, an old woman used to come out and shout at you. And for some reason, she was a witch. That was the Witch's Lane. And everybody knew somebody had been caught after, but never met this person.
Bad fable. Bad fable, man. Everybody's got them. But at this point as well, before you see the boys sitting down, that you see that Gordy and Chris are really close. You see their relationship as one more like akin to being brothers. Do you know what I mean? And they don't. The thing I find about this whole film is, for the time it was shot and the time it was set, that the two boys don't mind giving each other a hug. They don't mind telling each other how they feel. Do you know what I mean? It's quite opened about male bonding back then, which was probably frowned upon. You know what I mean? Who you touching, faggot and stuff like that, which you see in other films.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. You kind of see like mature stuff through it and all. That's how they call it a coming of age film. Bits they start as wanes, and then you see the mature side of it. But see, when there is like a mature bit or there's like a serious bit, it's broke up again by you see the childlike side to them again. Aye, exactly.
Because almost immediately after, Chris tells Gordy that he's going to get out of this town, he's going to be a writer. And do you know what I mean? Right after that, the three of us sitting around flinging rocks in a can, talking about women's tits.
Exactly, you know what I mean?
I can only imagine it's somebody off the telly, but apparently women's tits are getting bigger week after week after week.
They could tell by the t-shirts she was wearing.
Aye, spilling it and stuff like that. Aye. But that's the stuff boys talk about. Do you know what I mean? That's all boys are interested in at that age, is boobs. Do you know what I mean? Definitely. And that's before the internet there, people. Even when I was that age, Christ, I had to find a scud book in the bushes, man, before they had something to look at. So they decide to get the money together, go to the shop, but they're not all going, so they do the coin toss, didn't they? And did they a gutcha?
A gutcha? No, I was like, what is a gutcha? I mean, who said that was a bad thing? Is a gutcha a bad thing?
Aye, another thing. So what happens is they all toss a coin, and the four of them lands tails, and Vern's freaked out, man. He's like, oh my God, guys, seriously, that's a gutcha. That's a gutcha. And apparently if that happens, you get a gutcha. Four of the same side of the coin, something bad's going to happen. So Vern's been fucking freaked out by Bobby's big brother, talking a lot of shit to him. I can't remember, he gave an example about it, but I can't remember.
Aye, I think it was like 12 guys or something get wiped out or something. I can't remember what it was, but
aye. But they did a toss again, and Gordy loses, so Gordy's got to go to the shop. So he plods off with the $2.37 to go and get provisions for this fucking 4-day hike, you know what I mean? To there and back.
It's like that, I know. See when he goes into that shop, you see what he gets for that amount of money? 4 cocks. 4 cocks.
Aye. And $1.50 a ham or something like that.
Aye.
And he's also got comics and swedgers and stuff like that. And but did you see the name of the shop?
I did, but I forgot it again.
It's the first I've ever noticed it, and I looked at Quidalicious. Quidalicious. So you're in America. A quid is like slang for British pound. You know what I mean? So why is it called Quidalicious in small town America? But Quidalicious, there you go. If you ever want to get $2.37 worth a week's shopping, go to Quidalicious in 1959.
The first Poundland, that is.
Aye. And the shopkeeper, obviously, he instantly recognises Gordy, didn't he?
Aye. Through, again, that's what we were talking about. The pros and cons of living in a Wheaton. He goes into that shop, the guy just instantly starts talking about his big brother again. How he's a good guy, blah, 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 blah. And it's just, again, listen to his dad. So, again, that's what I think it's like a con. Let's say, living in a Wheaton. You know, if you've got somebody bad in your family, you're going to get turned with that brush. But see if you've got somebody good, you're always going to be judged against that sort of thing. So you're not going to be good enough. Yep.
Aye.
Exactly.
So the shopkeeper's obviously just saying, nah, your brother, what a great player with us and stuff like that, won the game, and do you play football? And already Gordy's starting to drift off and go, what? Do you know what I mean? And it takes him back to another memory around the dinner table when his big brother's still alive and his dad's talking about him just being a football player, football. His mum wants him to go and see a lassie. His dad's no time for lassies, he's got to concentrate on football. And then, but you see the closest between Denny and Gordy at the dinner table there, because Denny tries to diffuse the whole conversation by telling mum and dad that, look, did you read Gordy's story? Gordy wrote a really good story, man, a brilliant story, but I'm not interested.
That's what I mean. I was thinking, is it just in Gordy's head that he's seen this? He just seen it for his aspect that he's done that, doesn't care? But with that, it kind of hammers it home that he doesn't exist in his dad's eyes. You know what I mean? It's all about elder brother.
That's how I was alluding to earlier on about the age gap between the two of them. I'm obviously looking right deep into it and thinking that obviously maybe Gordy wasn't planned. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Aye, maybe.
So and it kind of looks that way when anytime they harks back to the family unit, Gordy's he's just there and nobody's taking a vested interest in him apart from his big brother, who's now sadly passed away, which is a shame. But he gets his buck and a half of ham, he's 35 cokes, 2 packets of fucking whatever, Rizzlers, Ruffle Bars, whatever back in that day in America. He gets a fucking shitload of food anyway and he gets back to the junkyard. And he gets back to the junkyard where the boys were sitting round the can, and he looks to the very end of the junkyard and all you can see is his 3 pals scaling the fence. Do you know what I mean? Shiting herself. Left behind.
They soldier and Teddy at that point.
No, so they'll shout on him, Gordy, run. And it's by that time we know that Milo is back. You know what I mean? We took it. And he shouts, hey you, what you doing there? So it just...
See, the bit of narration there I know is hilarious. Where he says, Chomper, sick on boy, whatever. And he's like, I heard sick balls. Which she would, you know what I mean? And just, blind panic, built up this myth. And that's my dog eating everybody's balls.
That's it. If you imagine the devil dog's chasing you, you've still not seen it yet because you've high-tailed it and you're running, but you know a dog's chasing you and it's going to tear the balls off you. You would be right yourself. And do you know, credit to Will Wheaton for that and the cinematographer that slowed it down, because the reaction face he done, the slow pan reaction face, that was great acting. You believed he thought he was getting the balls taken off him. Devil dog.
It's like that. See, obviously, he escapes, gets away with it, air defence for that, and you see it. You're expecting this devil dog to be like a Rottweiler, a German Shepherd or something. But what is it? It's a golden retriever or something, isn't it?
It's a cross between like a golden retriever and a fucking, I don't know, a fucking sheepdog or something. Just a wee mad dog. And then so they all start going the dog through the fence. Kiss my ass, Jimmy. Me Teddy especially. And then big Milo gets up to the fence and he knows them all. But he says to Teddy especially, doesn't he? He says, I know you. You're the Teddy LaChance. Your dad's a loony and all that, and he's up in the fucking loony asylum, doondy.
See, that's what I'm thinking, that maybe feel like his dad, obviously, in the army and all that, and he's came back with PTSD. Or what was it? Shell shock, or whatever they call it.
Aye, PTSD, you're right, aye.
He's done that to him, and he's ended up in a loony bin, because, again, back then, they don't know how to treat any of that stuff.
That's it. It wasn't as you said, it wasn't a diagnosis back then. So people that were different, Christ, even 50 years before that. I mean, if you were born a twin sometimes, or you would be flung in a cell and all that. Christ, it was only a few hundred years ago we were burning people for being witches because they didn't smoke when we pushed them off a cliff. You know what I mean?
Scamps, tell you. What we like?
I know. But he does, the big bastard, he goads Teddy something terrible, and at least to Teddy, like getting right upset and crying and stuff like that. And and again, as you said earlier, he's still defending his dad, and he's still. My dad stormed the beaches at Normandy. My dad's a war hero. Blah 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 blah. So it was, but and that was that. That was Chucky sick balls at number 6. Fuck all.
See the scene after that, I know. See when it's like the comforting Teddy after it, and it's just the 4 of them, and they're just walking towards the screen. Rob Reiner says that's the best scene in the film because see, we look at it, and because I watched the director's cut as well, and you hear him talking about it, the camera never cuts away. See in that scene,
single shot, single shot,
and he's like, these are like, say, what, 15 to 11-year-old, and they're all meeting their marks right, all on cue, and it's just one big shot sort of thing. He's like, best shot in the film.
The whole film. Because obviously it's a single shot. There's no cutting. They have to no break character. They're all kind of worried about what Teddy's he's doing. They're trying to talk about it. Vern's being Vern. He tries to start singing Paladin again, and
that's what I'm talking about with the see when it gets to like a serious bit or whatever. They break it up again with showing that they're still winning with him breaking into song. And then I think that's just comedic and also the way Gordy and Chris just look at him like that. What are you doing? So I mean, the guy's traumatized and you're just singing.
Exactly, man. So then cuts after that, they all plod on their way. It cuts back to Ace and the gang who are just sitting about, just being teenagers, and Eyeball's getting a tattoo scribed into his arm with a razor blade, for Christ's sake, and then they hear they're talking about women again. Do you know what I mean? And he's talking about how he can't get anywhere with this girl, and Ace just says to him, what you want to do is get yourself a good Protestant girl. Where he's at the get. Do you know what I mean? Stay away from the Catholics because they don't give you nothing.
Well, there you go. That's no for us to talk about, but
no.
You Protestants are dirty bastards.
I don't know whether to be proud or take offence to it, you know what I mean? Brilliant. And then they hear about the missing body on the radio and stuff like that as well. And is that where Ace eventually gets told?
No, they still don't tell him, but
still don't tell him, don't know.
Again, it kind of shows you, I know, that see that gang, although we think of them as that they're supposed to be older, that they're still kind of like Waynes and all, because that guy's, he's choking, he's wanting to say that they know where the body is and all that, you know what I mean? Whereas, see if they were like these hardened criminals sort of thing, like they'd just be, no even mentioning that again. Like the wee guy's getting a tattoo, he always tried to tell me to shut up sort of thing.
Aye, Billy. That's it, isn't it? Mad Billy. She shut up, man. But I want to shut up. So they're still not talking. And then it leads back to the boys. They're walking along the railway lines. They've got lollipops singing in the background. And that's when, just another random thing, Chris says to Gordy, I stole my dad's cigarettes and all that. I've got one apiece for his after dinner. And then that's when they divulge nothing better than a smoke after a meal.
that was the thing I know. See with Teddy and Vern, they're talking about who would win a fight with Superman and Mighty Mouse.
Mighty Mouse.
Every single boy has had that argument. I mean, I've had it with Mighty Mouse. Was it you? Who would win out of Batman and Spider-Man? Which is Spider-Man, obviously. But it's not.
No.
It still happens, mate. It still happens. And I thought, again, that was another thing that see people reflect on it and go, they can relate to it sort of thing.
Aye. But see that no, it's quite funny about that. See Teddy's rationale for saying that Superman would beat Mighty Mouse. It's nothing to do with their powers. It's because Superman's a real person and Mighty Mouse is a cartoon.
So you see what that's said as well, mate. It's like showing you like the difference. You've got they two talking about who can win this made up fight, where you've got the other two talking about their futures, what they're going to do in life and all that, and it's just like showing you like the split down the middle. See like the theme of the film, like growing up and still being Waynes at the same time.
Because Gordy asks Chris then, do you think I'm weird? And that's when Chris says to him about the whole, no, you're going to get out of this town, you're going to become a famous writer, you're going to leave us douchebags behind and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? And it's when you see that Gordy's, although he's got the talent, obviously he's not interested, he wants to still be part of the gang, but Chris has been even more mature. So he's not just a leader of the gang because he's the best fighter or anything like that. I guess he's genuinely, he's like a brotherly father figure. And he says, no, you're going to get out of this town. You're going to make something yourself. You're not going to hang about with us losers. You know what I mean? Which, as you say, is very adult.
Aye.
Considering they're only meant to be 12-year-old at the time.
Yeah, true.
And then right in front of them, Teddy and Vern are dancing, singing to Lollipop, and then talking about Mighty Mouse and Superman having a square go.
Exactly. It's like you're just seeing the two, like the split down the middle. How this coming of age film, they're still Waynes, but it's showing you the other aspect of it. But they're just on the precipice of becoming older, sort of thing.
Aye, because even Chris says to Gordy, when Gordy's down talking himself, Chris says to him, "Shut up, that's your dad talking." Do you know what I mean?
Aye. And
he's fucking right, because obviously he's getting that kind of treatment at home that he's starting to believe it. He's not worth anything, so why bother? Do you know what I mean? Because if your own parents are only going to give you encouragement and stuff like that, then why should you believe you've got it?
Exactly, mate.
So we get to the bridge.
Aye. The film that we say is a long lens. I'm sure he says it was.
Aye, they bought a new camera especially for it, apparently.
Aye.
And it would cost a lot of money. But they bought this new camera, and the actual bridge, it's the McLeod River Railroad Bridge, which is in over Lake Britain in California. And it's huge, isn't it?
Aye, massive, man. There's another interesting thing about that as well. Rob Reiner was talking about it when they were filming this. So obviously it's roasting, and the crew are having to push this cart thing across this bridge. Mm-hmm. Right? So, but he wasn't getting what he wanted out of the two boys. Even the train's supposed to be right behind them. They're supposed to be terrified, think they're going to die in all this, and the one they're doing it. So he says, he just started screaming at them, "He's ruining this film, these guys are tired." So, told me bits practically. And then the two, he says, I could see Vern lip that started to go. And the other one, looked like he was ready to burst into tears. And that's when he says, like, roll the camera. And then they wrote, so he says, see me, you see in the film, that it looked like they're close to tears. It's because they are. You know what I mean? Because I was
I read that yesterday as well, and it genuinely, because Jerry, to let you understand, again, if you haven't seen the film, they've got to cross this long bridge over a river. It's about 150-foot drop, and they need to get across there in case a train comes. But obviously, the train starts coming, and Vern, he's on all fours, isn't he?
Aye.
And that's when he loses the comb.
Aye, he drops the comb.
Drops the comb. But as you say, so the train's coming. Gordy eventually gets Vern on his feet to run, make it across this bridge before they get hit by the train. And I always remember looking at Jerry O'Connell's face and thinking, you look genuinely shitting yourself, man. And as you say, it's because in real life, the director sent him, see the guys pushing that camera along the dolly, they are going to kill you if you don't make it across there. So that, as you say, he starts going, roll the camera, roll the film.
Brilliant, man.
That is brilliant.
He's done it a couple of times in the film with different scenes, but that one you can proper see it. That's how you know that they're still Wayne's and off, because you imagine that Rob Reiner screaming at a 11-year-old guy, "You're terrible! You're terrible!"
Exactly. I'd be fucking shite myself. I think, as you say, the HR wasn't in place back then, and I would have a lot more.
Oh, definitely.
In fact, so again, I thought the cinematography was quite good in this as well. I mean, people will look back at a film at that time and say, "Oh, it's fucking dead old looking, blah blah blah," but it's not. They get a brilliant panel shot of the full bridge. You hear an eagle going across. It's calm and it's still. It's beautiful, man. Until the train starts coming.
Aye, it's iconic. It's how soon you see film, like scenes that he films, it's the scene that you would identify Stand By Me with, say just that scene. If you just seen that, you go, oh, that's Stand By Me, sort of thing.
Aye. I mean, a lot of people have said in this the train looks fake, but it's a real train.
It's a real train.
Can it look fake? It is. I mean, if you really look for it, you can see how they've shot it. You can see, whereas the train in the moment of the film looks as if it's right up their arse, you can see how they've shot it and it's a bit behind because of the scale of the train, but I think they've done it brilliant. I think they've done it absolutely brilliant. And eventually, obviously, Vern and Gordy, they just make it. They're still not right afterwards. You need to jump onto the steep slope, don't they?
Aye. Don't make it with flying colours, sort of thing.
Aye, just as again, the terror in the face of Vern is just absolutely brilliant. And then, so they make it, the train goes by, and then again, it's instantly return to young boys when Chris just says to them, best train dads you ever met.
What is it? At least we know when the next one's coming.
Exactly. Best train dodge ever. At least you know when the train's due. You just see the two and look as if to go, prick. But the fuses, what could have been a pure traumatic fucking situation, it brings you back into the line with the fact these are 12-year-old kids again, man. So after that traumatic experience, they decide to make camp for the night, didn't they? And they've got their buck and a half of ham out of the fire. Just roasting whatever it is, man. And Vern drops his in the fire. But he gets it back out, which is quite good. So they've had their fag. They get the fags after the meal. They all agree it's the best time to have a cigarette. Nothing like a smoke after a meal. And this is where we learn about Gordy's talent for storytelling, isn't it?
That's it. Oh, there's another wee Easter egg in this for you. Obviously, the story of the pie eating contest. Lardass, the character in it, getting practically filtered off people, back to the old fat shaming and all that. How this guy plotted his revenge on everybody for making fun of him, has the castor oil. But see the egg? Why does he smell the egg? What does the egg do?
I just think it's fucking bogging. I don't know. I think the oil and the egg's a binder into it. I think the egg's to keep the oil down for a certain amount of time. Because the oil would just swish about, and I think the egg's just to plateau it until obviously he eats what he eats and it bursts through. Oh Jesus, man.
So he's doing this pie eating competition, and on the way up, people are making fun of him. The other contestants making fun of him and all that. So he's plotted to be sick and make everybody else sick, right? So he's done that with the castor oil and all that. And instead of winning the competition, which it looks like he's winning as well, he just eventually bulks this blueberry castor oil everywhere. And it's fucking, man, see when it's sitting on that guy's face, I was like, oh.
As you say, it's not about winning the competition. So again, if you've not seen the film, Gordy tells a story about Lardass, who's the town joke. He's very overweight. Everybody makes fun of him. His name is David Hogan, but nobody calls him that. Even his own brother and sister call him Lardass, you know what I mean? But he plots his revenge on the whole town at the annual pie eating competition. So, as you said there, Chris, is even getting up to the stage, it gets tripped up by the fucking big bully guy that's won it 3 years in a row, and everybody calls him Lardass, and boom bar every time he takes a step. But beforehand, Lardass has plotted. He's not interested in winning this. He just wants revenge. So, as you say, mate, he's got a big bottle of castor oil. Downs it a wanny, and then he cracks a raw egg into his mouth, and then he proceeds onto the stage to do this pie eating competition. So, like you said, mate, he's 5 pies in, right? I think everybody's still on their first pie, and he's like, done. His face is covered in blueberry and pastry, and then you start hearing the rumble in his stomach, and that's when his plans come to fruition. So, projectile vomits on last year's champion, who vomits on somebody else, who vomits on them, and that. Before you know it, the whole audience is vomiting everywhere, vomiting in their bags, vomiting on their wee brother, vomiting on their sister, their mum. It's good when he says, Mayor Johnson threw up on his wife's tits.
I saw the wee Easter egg in this, right?
Aye.
I said to you, I watched it the other night, and then I watched it last night as well. And when I watched it the first time, see in that the storytelling bit of it, there's a bit that cuts to two twins, right? And they talk to the two twins, and they say something to Lardis, right? And I thought the first time I watched it, I went, why, if they get what? Why does that need specifically said, right? So
I chow down wide load or something, innit?
So see, the second time I watched it, there's a guy standing between the two of them, right? Do you know it's was it Ray Bibber, the boy's name is? The dead body? He's standing between them. I swear, mate.
It's obviously a story, innit?
Aye.
It's obviously a story. Is that confirmed? Is it him, the guy that plays?
I don't know. I didn't Google it. I just seen it last night, and I was like,
oh, that's gonna make me freak out a wee bit, by the way. But that's fucking genius, isn't it? That is genius for Rob Reiner, by the way. Absolutely genius. I like that. Remember me about that. I'm going to look for that.
I was just thinking, well, I mean, why have they got a specific like lines? You know what I mean? It's like they're not really important, and it's not like another character in the story sort of thing. Not how it would be like reimagined, like another, and it's just two people standing. But I was like, I thought, why have they got lines? And sure enough, the second time I watched it, I seen the guy, and I went, he looks like that deep guy.
That is brilliant. That is brilliant. I love fucking shit like that because it was brilliant. I'm not going to say anything about it. So they've told the story anyway. The boys are in the fire going, yes, what a story, Gordy, absolutely brilliant. Another triumph. What an amazing story. And Teddy pipes up. Then what happens?
It's just a halfway daft dirty one.
But then what happens? I don't know. And what was it? It says it gives a suggestion for an ending. It's just totally nothing to do with the story.
I just Teddy will say something like he goes back and he shoots everybody or something, and he ends up a hero. You're like, what?
He's just interested in the action, the drama, and the gun shouting. So they're just trying to get to sleep, but before they do it, they're just round the campfire telling stories and like just daft boy chat in it. Like, what's goofy?
See, what is goofy? That was a good point.
I thought it was a dog. Goofy.
Well, Plato's the dog.
Pluto's a fucking a Greek mythologist.
But I mean, why is Hangman? So he's a dog, Mickey's a mouse. So what is Goofy? I always thought Goofy was a dog.
Aye. I mean, I know what you mean. Why would we have two dogs in the one kind of cartoon universe? One's an actual dog pet, and the other one's a walking, talking fucking idiot. Well, it was a bit goofy, so hence the name. But there you go, folks. What do you think Goofy is? I think he's a dog. I can't see him looking like anybody else. And then they ask other staff boy questions for the time of that period, like if you could have one food for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Well, what would yours be? What would yours be?
Mine, pizza.
I think pizza's a safe bet.
Because you could do a different topping every night. You know what I mean? Nobody has to say it's the same flavour of pizza. But Vern, his answer is cherry pez, because obviously a sweetie is a food group. Do you know what I mean? Sincerely, cherry pez all day long, no argument. Sincerely, cherry pez. And then obviously wagon train was a big thing back then. It was on every week, and Gordy says, "But wagon train, they never stop. They never stop wagoning. Where do they get to? Just every week, they're gone and they're gone and they're gone, but they never get anywhere."
Aye. What was the other one? The $1 million question. I knew it was fixed because who knows that much about opera? What?
Aye, that's right. $64,000 question, that. So they decide to get to sleep and all that, and then the howling starts. They're out in the woods, obviously in the middle of nowhere, 20 miles from home, and they can hear everything. Like, they decide it's obviously a coyote and stuff, and then obviously Teddy starts freaking out Vern by saying it's the ghost of Ray Bauer coming to look for you.
I know. Because a ghost would howl, wouldn't it? I'll say that, you've got banshees, haven't you?
Aye, but they're usually cutting about hoosies and the like, are they not? castles on the island and that.
Aye. Then again, reverts back to him. He's no as brave as he thinks he is. So there's a big hill close to him. Right back into
the team, man. Shines himself. So they decide to stand guard. They obviously realised that they've got the Chris's dad's gun, so they all take turns in standing guards, and there's just a kind of somber moment of them all taking turns and stuff. And then Vern, obviously, he can't sit still every time he hears an owl hooting or something like that. He's pointing the gun. The best bit of that is when he's behind the tree and the owl hoots. You just see the wee huntsman with the gun.
Aye.
Brilliant.
Yeah, comical, man. Just slapstick.
But Gordy has a bad dream, and Chris is he's on watch, and he's doing, keeping the fire going and stuff like that. And that's another pointed bit in the film about Chris and Gordy's relationship, because Gordy wakes up, him and Chris have a talk about stuff like that, and that's when Chris consoles Gordy about how he's going to get out of the town, about how his mum and dad are fucking dicks, and he's going to make something of himself. And then they talk about college and stuff like that, and then Gordy asks Chris outright, "Did you steal the milk money?" And he says, because Chris is saying it, nobody asked me if I stole the milk money. I get the blame for it, and that was that. There was no trial, no nothing. Gordy says, "Did you steal it?" And he goes, "Of course I did. I did steal the milk money." He says, "But what you'll know here is the fact that I never spent that milk money. What you'll know here is I gave the milk money back. What you'll know here is old lady something that was a teacher at the school didn't hand back the milk money and turned up the next day at school with a brand new skirt." And Gordy says, "Oh, it's the one with all the flowers on it." And I remember that. So it's quite, it gets you there, man, that bit, because Chris has been betrayed by his teacher, somebody that's meant to be in a trusting environment, but no, she kept the money and just let him take the blame, get suspended for school. And you see how it affected Chris, because he burst into tears, didn't he?
And that's what it says, this living in a Wheaton. That teacher was happy to just let him get the pelters, take the dairy for it. Because she knows that Orton, was that Chris boy? What do we expect? You know what I mean?
Aye. Nobody will believe him. I'm a teacher. Jesus.
That's it. And it's just, again, it's showing you that these wee tunes, staying in them can be a bad thing. You know what I mean?
Aye. Exactly. And it shows you as well about how young Waynes can just think to herself, you can't trust somebody like that. Why fucking bother? You know what I mean? And that's why a lot of people have went down the bad path and stuff like that. But
that's exactly it, mate.
But it's another good kind of scene. I think there's a good single shot of the camera there as well. They don't break character.
Aye.
And again, the boys are showing a level of affection towards one another. They don't mind giving each other a hug and patting each other on the back and showing their emotions or crying. Just, it's a beautiful. The two guys. I mean, Will Wheaton didn't going to be the best fucking actor in the world. I mean, he made an arse on Star Trek The Next Generation, but where he was doing brilliant, but decided to leave to pursue other things, made a cunt of it. Because I just stayed where he was. But the two boys for their ages there, I mean, we all knew River Phoenix was just born to act. He was tremendous, man. But hats off to him. I thought it was a great scene. The two of them done it brilliantly. But before we go into day two of their journey, that was another thing that I read up on as well. Rob Reiner got the four boys in a kind of like camp environment before they started shooting, so that they were interacting, hanging about together. They were eating together, sleeping together. Do you know what I mean? And that's why there's such a great bond between the four boys on set, because they were genuinely friends. They genuinely cared about one another. They got up to all sorts at this movie camp, which is what Rob Reiner called it. He set up a movie camp for them. And there was my mate Tim reminded me the other day, and I told you about it, that they had kind of babysitters, if you will, on set. But one time, Vern, who was Jerry O'Connell, decided to tie his babysitter to a tree. And this is offset, right? This is off Shannon. Tied his babysitter to a tree, fucked off to the nearest town because he just wanted cookies. And he stole these cookies at a diner that were laced with hash. Ended up going missing for hours. And the casting crew eventually found him freaking out in the woods, fucking high as a kite, man. 12-year-old boy stoned at his box.
Again, where's HR?
Exactly. I thought that was what the fuck is the story, man. So we've hit the camp scene. They woke up the next morning, but you just see Gordy just quietly sitting on the railway lines, reading a comic, and a deer appears, and it's then that Richard Dreyfuss, which it means a lot and it means nothing, but Richard Dreyfuss says, "I saw a deer. I never told any of the boys that I saw that deer, and I've never told anybody to this day until I'm right here just now." Do you know what I mean?
It's like something he kept to himself on that trip. That was like just for him, sort of thing.
Aye, that was just my moment, and do you know what I mean? It was good. Because a lot of people can look at that and go, why even mention that? Why even put that in there? It's about a boy's innocence at the end of the day, and that is something that back in 1959 would have been a big fucking deal, man. I seen a deer, man. It was like that away from me and all that. Go and tell your pals, but he wanted to keep that as his nice wee moment. You know what I mean?
Oh, nowadays is I pulled a phone out and took a picture or something.
Aye, frightened the freaking shite with it, man.
No.
So they obviously make tracks, and then they get the Royal River is what it's called, the Royal River. They get to the Royal River, but it's off track, and they need to get through the woods and stuff like that. And they get to the very edge of it through the woods, an absolute quagmire into it, man.
This swamp that the purpose built for the film. It wasn't just.
What was it?
It just wasn't. Well, because Corey Feldman, he was doing an interview about it. How they built this man-made pond thing out in the woods, because they couldn't go into a normal swamp because they thought, there'll be all sorts of whatever creatures in it and you don't know what's in the water, sort of thing. So they built this one. That's what it says. They built this 2 months before we got to it. So it was out there for 2 months. So when we came out to film, we didn't know what was in it anyway. But it was man-made, so it was
man-made natural swamp.
And you see it, they've not done anything to it. See that bit where they walk in, it's all the mud and it's up by their shoes and all that. That's just the way it was. After obviously lying out there for 2 months.
Mad. So they've realised that they have to cross this mad swampy pond, didn't they? And Chris goes like, "It's all right, it's cool, it's no deep." And he's poking the very edge of it where it's sitting. And that scene of the four of them just gone in a lanny and dropping down to their necks in the water, I think it's brilliant, man.
Aye, again, brilliant. It's like pure, it's just slapstick again, isn't it? Just like, we've tested it, it's safe. Like you say, it's poking at the edges of it like that. Aye, that'll work. And then next, like, in sync, boom, all four of them, done.
But apart from Vern, who's getting a bit pissed off about we should have stayed on the train tracks, they decide, we're wet now, and they start just dunking one another and having a laugh. But Gordy's, come on, I'm wanting to cross this. So they get across and they catch up with Gordy. They have a wee wrestle in the mud. They're all wrestling, having just been boys, and that's when Gordy says, "Vern, there's something on your neck." They're covered in leeches, aren't they?
Aye, covered in some inappropriate places, shall we say. Aye, covered in leeches, all jump out, freaking and all that. Obviously, they get them all off, and then Gordy's starting to, like any man would be, in a pure blind panic, with one of the leeches is obviously on his, what was it? Was it his home Oz, wasn't it?
It's on, well, Chris says after the fact to give him a break. He's just a leech hanging off his balls. But that's what it must have been, or else it must have had some size of fucking member there, because it was a big leech, so it must have been his testicles. I mean, if you're not seeing the film again, the boys run out the river, they strip down to their underwear, start getting the leeches off one another, and they think they've got them all, and you just see, again, great acting by Wheaton. You see Goldie's face and shaking because he knows, and the other boys instantly know what he's fucking scared about, and he just looks into his underwear, puts his hand down, obviously don't see nothing, obviously Christ, and then he just pulls his hand out with this motherfucking big giant leech on it, and his hand's covered in blood, and sees the blood and faints right away, doesn't he?
Aye, that was inspired by true events enough to Stephen King.
Right.
That actually happened. they all jump into a lake or something and all come out covered. I don't know about the leech on the balls right enough, but it says that actually did happen.
Aye,
So.
makes for a good story that, but at least it was. But say fence anyway, they get them round and stuff, and then they get on their way again. So after that scene, I've wrote it down now. We get back to Ace and the Gang. It sounds like a mad 80s pop group, doesn't it? Ace and the Gang, welcome number 2. And this is where he eventually, Billy spills to him that they know where the dead body is and they want to go and find it. We'll get in the paper. Same as the young ones. We'll maybe get a reward. That's what they're thinking about, money into it.
That's how you see it. So you think they're supposed to think of him as older, but they're actually still idiots or not. In fact, they've not really grew up much. You know what I mean?
No.
It's not about they're old enough that they should think of what does eventually happen with an anonymous tip, but they're just thinking,
aye,
reward, find this body, we'll get money, we'll get credit, sort of thing. Even though they're hated in the Wheaton.
Exactly. But this is where you notice as well that the gang seems to have doubled in size. There's now 8 of them, there's 2 motors, and then I can't get my head around, right? See Vern's brother that's itching all the way through the film to tell Ace about this, ends up, I don't want to go.
Aye.
Why?
I don't know. See, I thought it was like maybe they two had see how they stole this motor. Mm-hmm. I was thinking maybe they had stole something else and they didn't want Ace to see it, sort of thing. Like that was at the LB thing. That's
right,
aye. No, that's what I was thinking, but it's not really explained, does it? Or
no,
maybe he's just got the pure para.
Aye. Guess what? His body. Nah, do I go?
Sorry, exactly it.
But Ace is Kiefer Sutherland's quite good at that, but he says, okay, I see your predicament, and I've heard your argument, and I'll give you mine back. Get in the fucking car. There's no arguing because they're off here as fuck him anyway. So that's that. But so the boys eventually cross the river. Had their play in the water as we've seen, the fainting and stuff like that. And what's after this? We forgot to say that Ace has been playing. When they set out, Ace and the gang, we get back to them quite quickly. And the 2 motors are on either side of the road, heading the same way, obviously. And then a truck's coming, and that's where you see Ace is a bit fucking mental as well, isn't it?
He's definitely, like I said already, he's definitely going to be a criminal, regardless. But see, when I was watching that a bit, I know, nobody it reminded me. Remember Forrest Gump, where he's getting chased with the boys in the motor?
Aye.
My head went right to that. That's why I just don't know why, but it's.
Exact same probably setting and same period of car, same period as well as Forrest Gump.
So, I mean, it's just, I had me thinking, it's all these wee tunes, did they all have all these assholes? You know what I mean?
They must have it. Especially back in that time period, you would think about it, wouldn't you? Because it was everybody wanted to be. I mean, back then in America, small town America, I mean, a lot of the towns banned rock and roll, didn't they? And that's how the youngsters rebelled. With rock and roll and with the big Buicks and stuff like that, and fucking chip pan in their hair. And
that's what I'm just thinking of. But see, with Ace, that's what strengthens my thinking that he ends up David in Lost Boys, because you can tell. See, with the other bit of the gang, you can tell it's just kind of like a phase for them.
Aye.
They're just being enough, whereas that's his path. It doesn't matter where.
Aye.
The other day, he's doing that, know what I mean?
Aye. He would rather play chicken with a 7-ton lorry full of logs, and if he dies, he dies, isn't it? So a bit, as you say, if you're going to allude to the Lost Boys transition of him becoming a vampire, then it's a bit like Louis in Interview a Vampire. He's just gave up. He doesn't care if he dies or not. And that's why Tom Cruise makes him a vampire. So maybe that's what happened. And that's why he becomes a vampire in the Lost Boys. That's coming along, man.
Aye. We don't need this.
I'd buy that for $1. So we've done all that anyway, and this is where they get to the back of the old Harlow Road. On the back of the tracks, obviously, and they get to the old Harlow Road, and they more or less instantly find the body of Ray Beverden. It's Vern that says, I can see him. And that moment in the film as well, they just see that the kind of legs at the bushes, and they decide to get into the bush, obviously. And you see, I mean, at this time, Richard Dreyfuss is narrating again, telling you how he felt. He says that he's obviously been hit by a train and it's knocked him right out his, I can't remember what he calls them, but it's sneakers, isn't it? They've got another name for them. And you see one of his shoes hanging in the bush, man. That still gave me chills before you've even seen the dead body's face, you know what I mean? So they get a stick, they pull back the bushes, and there's just silence, isn't there? To see this kid, their age, for their town, lifeless, and Dreyfuss narrates, and again, he says, what is it? The kid wasn't sick, the kid wasn't ill, the kid was dead.
Aye. See, I think that's where, see that this film, how they're young all the way through this and all that. As soon as they see the body, I think that's where the childhood kind of ends for them.
Aye.
Because you can. Yep.
You stole my thunder there, because up until that point it was an adventure and it was exciting, wasn't it? It was as if they were going to get this prize, but the realisation, him not being sick or ill, it was fucking deeds, man. That's when, as you say, the innocence kind of left them, and the reality of the situation just fucking hurt them like a ton of bricks, mate. So that's nice. But just preceding that as well, I mean, there was another, I forgot to say it as well, Gordy and Chris had another moment together, walking along the tracks before Vern shouts that they found the body, and that's when Gordy's trying to convince Chris that he could do something himself. He doesn't have to be the town arsehole, he doesn't have to be what people perceive him as, he can make something himself. And obviously that stuck with Chris, because as we'll get to, that he made something himself before his untimely death. So they found the body. No sooner they found Ray Bauer, that Ace and the fucking idiots arrived, didn't they?
The Warriors.
Aye.
Aye. Again, it's like you see the contrast, like Gordy and that, they've kind of went, oh, this is wrong what we're going to do. But these idiots are still, oh, we can get credit, we can get money and all that. It's like the younger guns are more mature than the older gang, you know what I mean? And Ace is set on getting money or the credit for it one way or the other. And when you see it now, when Teddy says there's 4 years, make your move sort of thing, and then the rest of them run, and it's like, again, they take off like wee boys, you know what I mean? Like fleeting courage.
Teddy and Chris kind of stand their ground right away, and Vern and Gordy bolt as soon as they see them. And obviously Teddy still gives him a bit of fucking snash back. And Chris says to him, Chris is just pan-faced, isn't he? He says, why don't you go home and fuck your mother some more? Ace can't believe it, man. This wee guy's fucking...
Aye, starting up to him.
Because he gave him the option, and he says, get out of here, get your stuff, and we'll say no more about it. But if you don't get up this body to us, we're going to fuck you up, aren't we? But it goes from beating the shit out of you to Ace pulling a knife on Chris, because Chris is just saying, no way, man, no way, we're not going anywhere, this is our body, we found it. And all the time, Chris's brother standing right next to fucking Ace as well.
That's what I'm talking about, and honestly, they're just going through a phase sort of thing, whereas he's a ready criminal. That's him. That's his life. Because you see him, like, he doesn't. Why tell him to leave his wee brother alone? He's just like, still scared of him, like, don't do it, sort of thing.
He's frozen with peer pressure, isn't he? He doesn't want to lose face for the sake of his wee brother, but it also shows you a bit about Chris's character, that will no back down for the greater good in that situation, whereas Kiefer Sutherland just doesn't care about his life or ending anybody else's. So he's got the flick knife out, he's just about to, again, when you end up finding out what happens to Chris in later life, It's a knife that kills him. But at this occasion, he's just about to be stabbed when the gun goes off. And Gordy's dun, 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 Gordy's reappeared, didn't he?
And again, man, this gun, you see through the film, you really forget about that they've got a gun. This mad deadly weapon. They've had it for the start of the film. But it eventually comes to good use. And again, Gordy's standing up to Ace. Again, it was like that coming of age thing, like standing up to the bully that they were all terrified of, or overcoming their demons.
Aye. And as much as we said about Ace not getting a monkeys about his life, he thinks twice, because obviously the back and forth with the verbals, and Ace doesn't think he's got the balls to do it. And then one of the best kind of lines that Gordy says to him, he's pointing the gun at Ace all the while, man. And he says, "Suck my fat one, you cheap dime store fucking, what is it? Cheap dime store hood." How dare you say this to me, sir?
And then again, see, obviously they bolt, and Ace is like, we'll never forget this. We'll get you back on it. Which in the film you don't see them getting them again, but in the book apparently Gordy gets his fingers broke and his nose broke. So
all right.
I'm kind of glad they didn't put that in the film.
No.
Because
it
would have ended where the bad guy gets the win eventually.
Aye.
So it's good that they did that way.
I would have took the feel-good factor right out of the movie. But just before that, I mean, Ace tries his last kind of tactic to throw at Gordy and say, "How many bullets you got that gun? You're going to kill us all?" And Gordy just shuts him right up, saying, just you, Ace, man." And that's when Ace realises this kid's serious, man, because I think he knows as well, after the death of his brother, he's got nothing to lose either, because he's downbeat my life a wee bit. So, as you say there, Ace decides to leave after his pals have all shot their cell up the hill and say, we'll never forget this.
So you see with that and all, with that as well, like through the film, whenever something serious happens, they always cushion it with like funny stuff. So after they bolt, it goes back to them again, back to the boys' banter. Who told you you've got a fat one? You know what I mean? So biggest in 4 counties, you're going. And again, the boys' humour hasn't changed. How often do you go, I've got a massive one, you know what I mean? And it still happens, man.
Brilliant. So I have that laughing interjection, and it says it's funny, it's not just biggest in 4 counties. It's like a pure Jim Carrey face when he says that. But then again, for that jovial 12-year-old kind of jokey moment, they regress into the fact, listen, we're not taking the body. It's no right. It's no fair. Because it's Gordy just, I can't remember what he says, I'm paraphrasing it, but kind of alludes to the fact that I don't think we should be delighted about finding a dead body. It's no right. So the boys, they all agree. I mean, I think Teddy's the one that doesn't really want to, but he does eventually anyway for the sake of the crew. And it alludes back to the fact with Dreyfuss narrating that they've left the body there and they made an anonymous call to the cops, and the body was discovered that way. And then we go back to Dreyfuss, didn't we?
Right.
In the present day, as the present day was in 1987, writing down his story at the front of the computer. And obviously his own kids, "Come on, Dad, let's go. You said this an hour ago." He says, I'll be right there. And but what's the last line he puts in the book again?
I never had friends like I did when I was 12 later in life, but then again, did any of sort of thing.
Aye.
So I was just a brilliant way to sign off with it, you know what I mean? But because it shows you it's practically Stephen King's story, him being Gordy. So it was like a good way to finish it up, that him now being the writer he is, and finishing it off with a writer's kind of way of writing stuff. And then it continues on. Let's see, like his boy hanging about with his pal. He kind of sees it again, that it's his boy's sort of journey, sort of starting. What I mean?
The next generation. I was a bit premature getting to that end there, because I forgot that the boys obviously get back to town, they part ways, and Dreyfuss is narrating and he's giving you what happened to each and every one of them. Like Vern ended up with a family of 4 and he's still in the town, he's a forklift driver. Mm-hmm. Teddy tried and failed, was it to get in the army about fucking 7 or 8 times. Ended up in and out of jail and now does odd jobs in the town.
Talking about the odd jobs again, the first time Teddy is ever mentioned is in the book Carrie. He works in a gas station that she destroys. So it's again, that's later in life, but we don't see it. You know what I mean?
There you go. So, yeah, watch that now and see if the gas attendant's got a melted ear.
Well, I'm just thinking, because Carrie was it before Stand By Me, I think, wasn't it?
Aye, I think so.
Aye. So they're probably, there might not be
a
big thing, but
the time frame of Carrie, what era was that set in? Carrie was set in the kind of 70s, 80s, was it not?
Aye, it was. Exactly.
70s, I think.
That's what they're saying, that he worked in the gas station. So I don't know when it is he's older. But again, I don't know if that. I just googled that sort of thing. I don't know if it is in the film, but it's definitely in the book. It's definitely mentioned in the book.
Like that, I know. And then when he's discussing, when he's telling you about what happened to Chris, it's then you find out that Chris did make a go at it. It wasn't easy, but Gordy helped him get through college and he became a successful lawyer. But being he still had a good nature and wanting to help people. And it was standing in a queue at a diner or something, and a fight broke out. A guy pulled a knife. Chris tried to break it up, get stabbed in the throat, died instantly, man.
Aye. That's, I mean, it's just the way that just it ties up Chris's story. This young guy that came for a tomb that everybody thought he was going to be a scumbag and follow his family's way of life and all that, and in the end he dies doing the right thing for something that people would probably expected him to do. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
I think it was just like a good way to end his story. Tragic, but it was a good way to end it, sort of thing.
I've got mixed feelings about it. It definitely works for the purpose of the film and the story and all that stuff, but they're still a bit gutted that it happened to him, a good guy. You know what I mean? Because it happens in real life, man. I mean, look at the soldiers that come back for fighting wars just now, for Afghanistan and stuff, and end up getting stabbed in their own street when they come home, you know what I mean? So it's a tragedy, it's not a place. And as you said there, Gordy growing up finishes the book with smiles after writing his wee bit. I never had pals like that and stuff like that, do whatever. And he looks, obviously he's looking at his computer screen, but he looks down the camera at you, and you feel as if he's saying to you, well, I do anyway, it feels as if he's just looked jingle like that. What do you think of that story? Do you like it?
Yep.
Do you know what I mean?
See, even he's at the computer as well. Obviously, he turns it off, but does that mean that he's turned the whole computer off, or is it just the monitor? And it's just like a thing he's gone through. He's wrote down that story, but he's no intention.
Letting other people read it.
Aye, and he just wrote it for himself, sort of thing.
Aye, it's a therapeutic exercise.
And it's like, see the deer scene again? No, that's just for them, sort of thing. That's not for everybody else.
Aye, so maybe nobody else ever does find it about the deer because he's just USA, he's not saved it, he's just turned it off. And then he looks at the window, he realises that he's, as you said, the next generation's happening. His boys out there play fighting with his friend, they're waiting on him to take them to probably the lake, something like that, because they've got their tools, and he goes out and starts wrestling, and that's when the film ends, fades out with a dun 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 dun.
Here, did you know that Michael Jackson was asked to write a cover version, Stand By Me, but Rob Reiner kept it with the original.
Aye, fucking just as well. Can you imagine sitting through an hour and a half, a period, I'm still going to call it a period drama, but with like Buddy Holly and the Chanels and all that playing all the way through it, and then at the very end you've got Michael Jackson singing Stand By Me. Who the fuck even suggested that pish, man?
I know. It's probably the Higme, the studios. Because you always need like a big song to go with it. But Rob Reiner, that's what he says. Because of when it was set, the year that it's set, the next year Stand By Me came out. So he's like, we just kept the original. Because it kept in style with the rest of the film.
Well, that was good because Benny King, that was it, done the original, obviously. And at the time of the film coming out, Benny Stand By Me get back in the charts and hit quite high. It became number one in UK and Ireland. I think it got to number 4 in America. And number 4 in America is fucking huge, man. Do you know what I mean? So definitely got a bump off for that. I thought wee Benny was probably sitting, rolling about in his big room full of coins like Scrooge McDuck, you know what I mean? In the back talking dollar bills.
Aye. Oh, definitely, man. Aye.
There you go.
A lot of stuff on the side of it and all that. Like, even like people that were considered for doing other roles, like the Gordy role, like Sean Astin and Ethan Hawke and all that. There's all sorts of stuff like that for it. But Sean Astin said himself, he went in audition for the Gordy role. River Phoenix was in ahead of him, and he says when he walked into the room, he could see the people and all that were all holding back tears, and he said there'd no chance of getting it.
Aye.
So he says years later, he's seen the film and he went, aye, they made the right choice.
It's magnanimous of him to say that. So
aye, exactly. Aye.
But what we'll do is, I mean, I think we've learnt to do it because I think an hour and a half went by, that's flew in, mate. Absolutely flew in. And we never even touched on half of the stuff that we could have. But like how the boys' careers have got on since then. Also, you know, River obviously tragically died at the Rainbow Rooms, and Corey Feldman's had his demons. Wheaton's not exactly won an Oscar, and Jerry O'Connell, right? Do you know when I first found out that Jerry O'Connell was in Stand By Me? When I seen him in Scream 2, he was the boyfriend at the time, wasn't he? And he was built like a shit breakfast. Do you know what I mean? Handsome and all that, and fucking Scream, scary face ties him to a cross on the stage. And I was looking it up and all that at the time, and it was like Jerry O'Connell. I was like, well, just he been in fucking Stand By Me. I couldn't believe it, man. He was wee chubby Vern.
He's married to, well, apparently he's married to the first actress that originally played Mystique. Apparently he's married to her now.
Oh, well, the boy's doing no bad for himself.
Again, it's not a director's thing, though. It's Will Wheaton, Corey Feldman, and Rob Reiner talking about it. And they were all talking about everybody. And that's what they were. He's married no bad, that boy.
Aye.
Stay well for yourself.
It's quite funny. I mean, out of the cast, half of them done all right, and half of them still done all right. But, I mean, obviously, River Phoenix died due to drugs. Corey Feldman's had real bad problems with alcohol and drugs, and the Hollywood Illuminati, shall we say. And Kiefer Sutherland, after having a good career on the back of this, nearly fell off the fucking thing with drunk and drugs as well, but managed to get back in with phone booth, as we talked about earlier on, and then, well, not today. Today, great things, but Will Wheaton, I think the biggest thing he's done to Stand By Me, apart from Star Trek, was appear in the Big Bang Theory, wasn't it?
That's what I kind of thought, he was in Stand By Me. What's ever happened to him? And sure enough. Because they gave him filters on that and all, did you know about the Star Trek Enterprise thing? They get filters on that. About that. What's for you when you go by you?
This is true. He made the wrong decision at the time, but hey, it's a story for another day. Mate, going to wrap it up. I enjoyed that, did you?
It was a good laugh, mate. So it's good to watch. The old classics, as we said.
Definitely. The time just flies in, but so it's fucking mental, man. So I know next time to write less notes and try and trust my gut, man. Fucking hell. I'd have been better just phoning Rob Reiner saying, have you got a spare script there, man, so I can go through that. Then Chris says hello, and Gordy says yes, and they laugh and cuddle, and it is nice. There is a bird singing.
Well, in fact, here's a question I'll ask you. To everybody in the film, who do you see yourself in? Or who do you identify with most?
That is a toughie, because I'm somewhere in between Gordy and Chris, I think. I couldn't pick one of them. I've not been the geeky one that was made funny like Vern. I've not been a crazy bastard as much as Teddy. But I've always had a bit of nous, a bit of talent, but know when to stand up for myself. Do you know what I mean? So I couldn't pick one of them, but if they two became homosexual and were able to have a little baby with a big beard, I'd be their son. Who do you see yourself as?
I don't know, mate. Probably the deed boy. I'm a bit pale, and if I'm in the sun long enough, I'll let off a wee spell. But
folks, if you, Chris likes to be a deed body.
Picking blueberries, that's how I spend my time.
I just, again, if you'd like to be uber fucking critical, you would wonder why you never heard a train coming. But hey ho, do you know what I mean? That's just another argument. Just takes away from the goodness of the film. But I enjoyed watching it. I'll watch it probably another 10 times over the next couple of years anyway, because it's always been one of my favourites anyway. And we'll think of something to do next time, mate.
And don't forget to watch the pie scene, and you'll see the dead boy alive and well.
Aye, that's the trivia for you guys. Watch the pie scene, watch the two twins saying, "Hey laddies, chow down, lad loads," because I've not seen it. I'm going to go and look at it just now after I've something to eat. But Chris, it's been a pleasure, mate. Thank you very much. I'll get this up on YouTube and on Spotify. He's a shout. Thanks everybody for tuning in. If you liked it, let us know that you liked it. Let us know what you liked, what you thought was you didn't like. If you've got any movie suggestions going forward as well, let us know, and we'll definitely think about it if it's worth thinking about. And keep on the socials.
Everything apart from 16 candles.
Aye. And in fact, no, I'll leave that. I'm going to say something else, but I'll leave it. Right, well, man, you have a good day. I'll catch you later.
Have a good one, mate.
Cheerio, bye. Cheerio, bye.
And action!
Disgust me. Grow up.